I remember thinking, oh, I never want to wear these clothes. I never want to be outside, anywhere outside of my home, wearing these Indian clothes because they made me feel ashamed and they made me feel like I wasn't beautiful or I was too different. I immigrated from India, specifically South India, to California when I was 11 years old. And of course, it was very jarring and it was a huge culture shock. And I remember one day I did wear something Indian to school and a lot of kids made fun of me. You know, I stopped wearing what I love to wear and I stopped wearing my bindi. From the day that I was born, I believe my mom put a bindi on my forehead. I didn't realize that it was something that people would mock or make fun of. I felt so embarrassed about wearing it. I took it off halfway through school and I remember never putting it back on.
So growing up in Washington as a Chinese American, I really wanted to fit in with kind of like the white culture, but also didn't know how to like merge my culture into it. Like bringing dumplings. My mom would make dumplings, I would bring them to school, and I would always get comments like, oh, what are you eating? Like, that is so gross. Or like, oh, what, Lily's bringing seaweed again.
So I grew up here in Hawaii on Oahu, and I am half white. My dad is from Michigan, and then my mom is Filipino, Japanese, and Korean. And Hawaii is predominantly Asian. It wasn't until I moved to Utah to go to college that I realized, like, oh my goodness, like, I am not like the rest of this country that I am living in. The first time that I experienced racism, which was when I was like dating this guy, and I've talked about this on TikTok before. I brought up being Korean. I was like, da-da-da-da, like, I'm Korean. And then he was like, wait, you're Korean? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, I thought you were full white. And I was like, no, I'm half Asian. And he was like, oh. And then he canceled the jet ski trip. Yeah, because he said that his grandparents got like uncomfortable around people of color. I was like, why can't I just like be like everybody else? Like, why do people have to look at me differently because of the way that I look? Like, that's so absurd to me.
Growing up, there was not a whole lot of like Asian American social media influencers or actors, which is why I think I wanted to kind of push away my Asian American heritage, because we look at the screen. Those are the role models we see. Like, I remember going to a hair salon and like bringing a Hillary Duff photo in. And I told my hairstylist, and I'm like, I want my hair to look like this.
I remember someone in school had asked me if people in India take showers. What's portrayed in the media, what we are seen as or what we are viewed as, I think that definitely contributed a lot to feeling ashamed of who I was.
I quickly realized that, you know, I can't change who I am. And also, I love who I am, and I love the culture that I grew up with.
All of a sudden, you're like, what am I doing? Why am I trying to push away my culture? I want to reclaim my culture. I want to appreciate it. I want to love it.
I joined an a cappella team in college, and we would sing these songs that were mashups of Indian and American music. And that was when it first clicked in my mind that I didn't have to choose just one and completely ignore the other. And in college is when I started posting my Indian clothes online. A lot of South Asian people would respond to those posts saying, wow, this is so great to see someone representing our fashion on social media. I would say 85 to 90% of, you know, the things that I've learned and things that I've come to accept in myself, like a lot of that had to do with social media and putting myself really out there and getting that feedback and also being able to help other people.
I love Asian food. It's my most favorite food of all the foods.
I feel like the TikTok For You page helps you to go to the correct community of people who are either interested in learning about your culture or people who are a part of your culture and just want to feel included within it.
Just very endearing to talk about my mom and our upbringing and some of our childhood, you know, stories, because it's catharsis. It's like a way to connect and relate with people who also shared a similar upbringing. Look, I made more for you. Wow, thanks, Mom. That's a lot. These ones are very good. Okay, here's another. Another one? And one more. Mom!
You'll see a lot of really funny, relatable content about being Asian. And although we come from different parts of Asia, we all have very similar shared experiences.
This is like the time for us to share our stories. Our time to like normalize being Asian Americans and sharing our everyday lifestyle.
And the more content that you create that has to do with being an API member, that the closer we are to closing that gap between that misunderstanding and acceptance toward our culture.
It's almost impossible to box yourself into just one category. I can't only say that I'm Indian or Asian because I live in this beautiful country in America, and I have become so American, but I also have that Indian identity. So for me, just bringing in those little moments and little touches and details of my Indian clothes and putting that with my Western clothes was really a way for me to kind of bring in both my identities and showcase that on a daily basis. And I know with my bindi, I had a talk with myself and, told myself that you shouldn't be ashamed of who you are, and if this is one way that people can identify you as being Indian, then this is going to be the one thing that you're going to wear every day. And so from that day onwards, I have never stopped wearing it.
This is something me and my sister talk about all the time, like how happy we are to be Asian and specifically to be creating content. It gives me an opportunity to share who I am and to share my culture, and then to bond with other members of my community and to just really feel their love and connection to me.
If I were to see that 15 or 16-year-old with a Hillary Duff photo, I would tell her, be proud of who you are, be proud of what you look like. There are so many other wonderful, creators, actors, people out there that share a similar, understanding of where you are right now.
I think the beauty in humans is our difference. There's only one you, and that's your superpower, and so you should really embrace yourself.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.